This is CBC Vancouver News.
Do we want to be proactive and get ahead of it?
Picking up the pieces. As the focus shifts to recovery, pressure is mounting for a national strategy to better protect homes from wildfire. Plus,
if we were to stay, we'd have to get a hotel, change our flights, discuss work,
disappointed Drake fans. Opening night of his Vancouver stint is abruptly canceled because of a problem with a video monitor at Rogers Arena. And a homecoming nearly a century in the making.
Today was probably one of the most happy days in my life because I'm really, really emotional right now.
A totem pole is being returned to a BC First Nation all the way from Scotland. Good evening, I'm Tanya Fletcher. We begin in West Kelowna, where the number of homes now said to be damaged or destroyed has risen. But recovery mode is in full swing, and fire officials are optimistic the worst appears to be over. Karen Larson is there with more on the transition from fighting the fires to picking up the pieces of what they left behind.
New footage released by BC Wildfire shows the astounding force and utter destructiveness of wildfires that raged through the central Okanagan last week.
We are only 11 days into what is a historical natural disaster.
Today, officials updated the number of structures lost in the McDougall Creek wildfire, adding 7 more to bring the total to 189. It remains remarkable that no one died. And though wildfires are no longer threatening lives or buildings, they are expected to linger in the backcountry for a very long time.
There is still a lot of fire behind our community. We flew over quite a portion of it yesterday. This fire will be with us for a while, not in the streets and neighborhoods, but in the hills above.
Every day, stories emerge about the heroic efforts of firefighters. Rose Valley Elementary School, the latest example. Fire burned right up to the school grounds, but no further thanks to building protection crews.
I'm incredibly grateful to our firefighters and first responders. They certainly made it a priority. They had sprinklers up on the roof. We had fire trucks there and firefighters directly fighting the blaze to keep it away from the school, and they were successful.
All public schools in the central Okanagan are expected to open for the new school year on schedule, with extra support for students and families who need it.
We are working with our staff to remind them of the best practice around trauma-informed practice. We expect a lot of people have been traumatized by this event, staff and students.
So where did the fire, it was on the other side of this hill?
Life is slowly returning to normal for many in the Okanagan Valley, if normal includes the continued presence of water-bombing helicopters.
Nature's getting us cleared up, but I still think we have fires over the hill that could come back, so time will tell.
As of Monday, 2,400 properties in the region remain under evacuation order. Karen Larson, CBC News, Kelowna.
In the Shuswap, fire activity has kept relatively stable. The winds are expected to pick up tonight, but fire officials are hopeful with some rain in the forecast tomorrow. Another saving grace, the shorter days as we head into September.
This time of year, the days are getting a little shorter very quickly and the nights are getting a little longer. That is a huge help for us on the fire front. It might not seem significant, but it is. Just allows less burning period in the day, less drying conditions, and more more significant time of night to recover.
It comes as evacuees in the Shuswap area get a clearer picture of what they'll be going home to. Today, fire personnel began notifying residents about properties affected by fires there. It's believed the number of properties destroyed stands at 131, with another 37 damaged. And with so many of those communities now assessing the damage from this unprecedented wildfire season, others are already thinking of the next one. Kayla Hounsell has more on the growing calls to change how we build homes across the country.
This is all that's left of Alice Fisher's home, destroyed in the Nova Scotia wildfires back in May.
It talks about the flames traveling quickly.
She's been looking into options to build her new home better.
After living through what we've lived through and feeling that numbness.
This home has hardy board siding. And so if the fire approaches, this siding will not melt.
Paul Kovacs has been researching how to make homes fire resilient for 25 years. He says siding is just one part of it. People should also have fire resilient roofs and decks.
I still dream of the day when wildfire protection becomes part of the building code and a requirement for all the new homes going up all across Canada.
Canada does have a board responsible for national building codes. There's nothing in the codes to address wildfire protection right now. Climate change adaptation is a priority in the works, but the new codes won't be ready for another 2 years. In the meantime, there's nothing stopping provinces and territories from creating their own requirements.
This is the first time that we've had this many homes lost to a wildfire, and I really hope it's the last.
Pam Lovelace is the municipal councillor responsible for the Halifax district that lost 150 homes. She's asked staff to look at strategies to mitigate risk.
I think it's important for us to consider that. We don't know what the cost will be. We don't know if the materials are even available.
Kovacs says these measures generally cost between $5,000 and $10,000. After the fires in Lytton, BC 2 years ago, the federal government provided grants to homeowners building fire-resistant homes.
It's all about whether we want to pay a cost up front for all these fires, or do we want to be proactive and get ahead of it.
Fisher says she's considering it. Anything to provide a measure of safety after losing everything. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
Well, meanwhile, the BC government is working on overhauling its Emergency Program Act. That legislation has never been updated since it was first introduced in 1993. The province says that'll change this fall with the introduction of the Emergency and Disaster Management Act.
And it will be one of the most significant overhauls of that Emergency Program Act in decades. So that will be tabled this fall. However, the powers that are afforded to local authorities, First Nations, regional districts to issue evacuation orders will carry through into the new legislation.
BC has applied for federal funding as well for disaster financial assistance right now. The province expects to hear back imminently, and this money will pay for repairing public infrastructure like roads and buildings, as well as the massive cleanup effort that's ahead. Since April 1st, BC has spent some $585 million fighting this year's fires. It is just one more step in reconciliation. A hand-carved 19th century totem pole is being returned to a BC First Nation after spending 94 years in the National Museum in Scotland. But as Renee Filipponi reports, the journey ahead will face some major logistical hurdles.
It's a moment correcting a historic wrong, as a delegation from the Nisga'a Nation held a ceremony to mark the start of this totem pole's journey home.
Today was probably one of the most happy days in my life because I'm really, really emotional right now.
It was carved in the 1860s in memory of Simagit Nisjal's ancestor, who died protecting his nation. It was stolen in 1929 and sold to the National Museum of Scotland.
The time was right for it to return to where it should never have been taken from in the first place.
The pole is seen as a living being by the Nisga'a people.
When a pole is carved, just right before it's to be raised, there is a ceremony that's performed, and the carver breathes life back into that pole.
The ceremony in Scotland put the pole to rest for its long journey home. This is the second time this year a totem pole has been repatriated. The Newhalk First Nation welcomed this pole home after it was taken more than 100 years ago.
A number of years back, I think you would have seen some uncertainty in the parts of museums.
This museum director says there is an increased willingness to right past wrongs, but more can be done.
I think there's a role for museums here to play in that conversation as well, to help institutions that are farther away.
The 11-meter totem pole will take weeks to maneuver out of the museum through a window and will be flown back on a military aircraft. Its return will be celebrated with a community feast at the end of next month.
My children's children and the rest of my family, their children, it'll be there for them for years.
One step on the journey of reconciliation as a pole from the past finds its way back. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, thousands of concert goers are disappointed tonight after Drake's opening night at Rogers Arena was suddenly postponed due to a technical glitch at the venue. Many fans traveled from out of town to see the Toronto Raptor perform at Rogers Arena tonight, and their crush shall now have to wait until Wednesday for that show.
I'm very sad. Been here since 6:30 in the morning, so yeah. I'm upset.
If we were to stay, we'd have to get a hotel, change our flights, discuss work, you know.
In a mixed bag of emotions right now, you know. Guess I just got to get a refund because I booked this trip in advance, right? And I booked my Airbnb like months out before this happened.
I planned this months in advance. My car, my B&B, everything was months in advance. I saved a lot of money, and we got here, and we were so happy about it, and just 2 hours before it's supposed to happen, they give us an excuse that their stage wasn't finished.
In a statement, Live Nation says unforeseen circumstances with the newly installed video board at Rogers Arena was the problem. That means the concert has been pushed back 2 days. At this point, tomorrow's show is set to go ahead as scheduled. Anyone who had a ticket to tonight's concert will be able to go Wednesday instead. And for those who are unable to make that new date, well, there's no word yet on how or when ticket holders might be reimbursed. The BC government is putting money towards the construction of 3,500 new homes for people struggling to make rent. For the next 3 months, the province will be accepting proposals from nonprofits, First Nations, and municipalities who want funding to build these rental units. Vancouver Mayor Kim Sim says it is desperately needed given the record high rents in his city.
These homes are for those who need them the most, and while today's announcement is certainly good news, I think we can all agree we still need to do more, and we will do more.
Rents through this program are set at 30% below the resident's income. The goal is to build 20,000 new homes by 2032. 9,000 of those are already in progress. Well, gas prices are once again rising in Metro Vancouver, now hitting their highest point yet this year. Our Michelle Gomez is looking at what drivers are doing to save some money.
Gas prices hovered around $2.10 in Metro Vancouver today.
It's getting high, and it's pinching on the budget a bit, but we're managing.
Henry Ng is trying different tactics to save at the pump.
We're going to go on a little road trip to Cultus Lake. So I'm just topping it up a touch and then filling up the rest out there because I know it's a little bit cheaper out there. Hoping to save whatever we can.
Cameron Gray is also getting creative.
I'm careful about combining my trips. So if I'm like today, I've got 3 things I'm going to do while I'm driving. One of them is get gas, and so I try to combine the trips so I don't drive as often.
BC has the highest gas prices across the country at an average of $1.94 per liter. The nationwide average is $1.68. Vijay Muralidharan owns a petroleum consulting firm in Calgary and follows gas prices closely. He says there are a number of reasons for the recent increase.
A big refinery just went on fire the other day, so that's caused this big spurt in pricing. The other issue that's affecting is the possibility of Hurricane Idia that could come and impact the production. And the fear of the hurricane coming in and affecting the production has also made the situation worse.
And he says fuel prices impact not just drivers, but everyone. Diesel reached $2.20 per liter, a cost that contributes to inflation.
The diesel pricing has increased. That is a big negative impact on the economy because it increases price levels, and that's sticky, and that affects general inflation.
Heidi Liu is already feeling the pinch.
It's just getting more and more expensive, so we are trying to reduce the car uses. My salary is the same, but gas is getting more and more.
Muralidharan says prices may pull back as people drive less in the fall, but will likely remain high over the upcoming long weekend. Michelle Gomez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Yeah, it's pretty clear this one's not going to make it. My expectation is in the next couple of hours, the bird's going to take it.
As temperatures rise and water shortages kick in, salmon populations also take a hit. Up next, we check in with one community doing all it can to protect them. Stay with us. And thanks for sticking with us during our commercial-free live stream. Some election candidates in Winnipeg got a taste of what it's like to live below the poverty line, with politicians seeing firsthand different income levels and how much is needed to buy something as simple as a lunch.
Thank you. These politicians came out to get served a meal and a few lessons. Candidates in the upcoming provincial election were treated to a 3-course meal. Their dishes depend on their income levels. One meal is what an MLA could afford, like Arctic char. Another meal for someone on employment assistance, spaghetti with tomato sauce. A different meal for people on disability supports, dal with vegetables. The MLA menu included an appetizer, but not for people on employment assistance or disability support. Instead, they filled out government support applications.
What we tried to show is not only are you getting a less plentiful meal, you're also having to do a bit of work.
Melissa Graham helped organize the event. She's with the Manitoba League of Persons with Disabilities.
We thought it would be a good idea to bring everyone together and have a meal and show some of the differences between not just an MLA salary and someone on social assistance, but also the differences between those categories.
Speakers at the event hoped the politicians learn from what they heard. For example, people on disability get more than those on employment assistance, but not by much.
$1,278 a month. Ridiculous. I don't know how people live on that little bit of money.
Some candidates say they're low income themselves.
I understand because I live it. I live under EIA.
When you're low income, you kind of just eat what you can. You kind of get what you can from your food bank, from your neighbors.
Others say the experience was humbling.
Courses were arriving for me and they had nothing, right? So at one point, I in fact tried to pass my salad off to Melissa sitting next to me, and she said, no, that's cheating.
I think this is a very good experiential event, which touches your core and makes you want to advocate for more.
Now it's up to the politicians to serve up a platform that helps people struggling to get by. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Welcome back. Heat and drought are affecting wildlife across the province, and salmon are the latest to feel the effects. In Chilliwack, the Chiam First Nation has stepped in to rescue at-risk salmon by relocating them to cooler water. But as our Camille Vernon reports, warm temperatures aren't the only thing plaguing the habitats.
This creek, running between a highway and a golf course, is an important habitat for young coho salmon, but it's drying up. It's not even 9 a.m. and the sun is already blazing, scorching the water and threatening the fish.
It's 18.9 degrees.
This biologist says that by afternoon, the water will be too hot for salmon to survive.
Yeah, it's pretty clear this one's not going to make it. My expectation is in the next couple of hours, the bird's going to take it.
Fort Creek runs through Chiam First Nation. It's here that members of the nation saw fish being trapped in water as early as July. They took matters into their own hands.
People volunteered and came and helped transport the
the salmonoid to other locations.
Mike Pearson was part of the team that saved 2,800 juvenile fish.
So the fact that almost a third of the fish that we caught were in about 3% of the habitat, crammed up against the barrier at the upstream end, tells me they were desperately trying to get out of here.
Heat and drought isn't the only factor threatening fish. The stream didn't always look like this.
You can see a flat, dry channel, completely unprotected from the sun, eroding banks. Previous to the work being done, this was a very well-shaded stream. The stream bed was about here. It was almost a meter higher.
Last August, the city of Chilliwack carried out some work on the stream, clearing vegetation along the banks.
It's devastating to see what has changed here, and knowing that the salmon are not surviving when they return back here.
The city explained they had to do this after the intense flooding in November 2021. They say they had to remove the sediment to restore fish access.
It is certainly not what you would call restoration. I mean, the only benefit that I can see in going that deep is to prevent flooding on the golf course.
Chief Victor says First Nations were not consulted in the work.
There needs to be proper consultation and consent with First Nations peoples. And we need to have a focus not just on how the water flows through, but what is the impact to the habitat? What is the impact to the salmon?
Even this crayfish has fled the water, trying to find a cool spot in the shade.
The stream was probably too hot for it. We're going to carefully take it back up to where we release the salmon, where it's cooler water, and hopefully have a better chance of survival.
The cohos were moved here upstream in this shaded area where the water is much cooler.
12.7 degrees. So we've got great water quality and good habitat. They'll be happy here.
The Chiam Nation wants the creek to be restored. Otherwise, year after year, they will have to salvage fish again and again to ensure their survival. Camille Vernet, CBC News, Chilliwack.
You're looking at a live shot of BC Place up Canby Street. Well, the weather is about to give fire crews a bit of a helping hand. Our Darius Madavi will join us with the 5-day forecast coming up next.
Ready, smile.
It was Here Come the Brides at Queen Elizabeth Park this afternoon. The sunken garden was overflowing, and yes, they're all wedding parties. While one group was primping on one side of the hedge, another was smiling for the camera on the other. Photographers jockeyed for position, and there were lineups for the prime photo spots.
Well, we just have to wait in line, and you got hopefully we could get the best shots.
We're waiting for the falls right there.
For a waterfall shot?
Yeah, for a waterfall shot.
The bridge. You're waiting in line for a bridge shot?
Yes.
Bridge pictures. Put your left foot forward, okay, both of you? That's good. Very good, right? That's nice.
Put your arm around her waist.
Oh, There were nearly 30 photographers clicking away in every corner of the park, and a wedding party with each and every one of them. First come, first served. How early do you have to get here?
As soon after the wedding ceremony as possible.
Or else?
Or else you run the risk of not getting a spot. It pays to have a lot of men in the wedding party with you as well.
Why?
Well, they're usually good muscle if somebody decides they want the spot before I'm finished with it.
And parking? Well, it's limo bumper to limo bumper.
If you want to park legally, it's rather difficult, but illegal parking is fairly easy to come by.
It's hard to find parking up here.
We had to walk a long way from the car to come here, and I don't really like the idea of walking all the way back. I'm pooped. It was incredible today. I think everyone in the city's getting married today.
And if they made it through this, the marriage should be a snap. Tammy Tomlinson, CBC News, Vancouver.
We're sharing really important information with the public, and I feel like this is exactly what our job is, especially as the public broadcaster, especially in morning radio. That's incredibly important.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Support sustainable agriculture and celebrate local food with Margaret Gallagher at Feast of Fields. Enjoy the Gourmet Harvest Festival at the Stable Harvest Farms on September 10th. Tickets at farmfolkcityfolk.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox and keep connected with us.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Darius Madavi joins us now with a look at the forecast. Darius, we seem to be a bit more manageable in terms of weather these days.
Yes, it does seem that way. We had our highs are still quite high for today in the interior. We've already come down on the coast. You can see the island much closer to seasonal or just below. Seems like we're going to be following that trend further into the interior by tomorrow. Temperatures do come down to much closer to seasonal, high 20s in much of the southern interior. We're below seasonal for the island and here in Vancouver tomorrow because of a low pressure system that's moving in and is going to be bringing plenty of showers as well to the southern third to southern half of BC. So if we look at tomorrow, the rain first starts on the island, even right now is happening, and then is spreading into Vancouver. Lots of rain for the coast, around 5 to 10 millimeters for Vancouver over the next few days, and similar amounts for the southern interior. Some places will see some storms pop up that bring even more rain. So if we take a zoom in to this area, we can see the rain doesn't quite make it to the southern interior by tomorrow, or to the areas we really want to see some of this rain, like Kelowna and Kamloops. But by tomorrow evening, we'll start to see the rain pop up in those places. If we take a look at and watch as this moisture moves through, we've got several pulses coming through, some tomorrow, Wednesday, and into Thursday as well. That should bring lots of moisture to the area, bring humidity up, bring that rain that we would like to see to bring our fire danger back down. In terms of smoke, we do have the area clearing out quite a bit because of the system that's moving in, just sort of letting that air move, stopping that smoke from settling. Some places in the south and especially up north still seeing plenty of smoke, but definitely an improvement over where we've been lately for sure. Much less smoky than on the weekend. So we can see that those temperatures come down a bit tomorrow, some cloudiness, a bit of rain over here. By tomorrow, when we take a look at the forecast for Wednesday, we'll see lots of rain here. And this is pretty much what I expected the Vancouver forecast to look like when I came out here. So it's nice to see that finally panning out.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll take all the rain we can get at this point. Nice to breathe a breath of fresh air, too, with that smoke clearing out. Thanks so much, Darius.
Thank you.
And that is your late news for this Monday. For news anytime, anywhere, you can download the free CBC News app or head to our website for the very latest. We're at cbc.ca/BC. Your next local newscast is on the early edition. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good night.